Welcome out Kevin Trost to Can't Knock This. Super excited to go into. He's probably one of the best recruiters in this industry.
Oh, Sam.
So we've got some history. Smashing Pumpkins concerts.
Oh yeah, best concert I've ever been to.
Best concert, which is real. So a little bit about Kevin Trost. He's the president of sales at Clear Satellite. They have massively grown since you've been there,
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. And we'll go over that a little bit. But also excited to have you at a Door-to-Door Con this January. So this will be a good time. So
that's good.
It's fun collaborating with you. So tell us a little bit about your start in the industry, your story.
I started selling when I was in 5th grade. I remember I would go to Costco, buy a box of blow pops for $6.25, 100 blow pops. I could sell them for $0.25 a piece, and so. Dude, profit margin was awesome on those things. But then I realized if I got my buddies to sell them and I gave them 10 cents of that 25 cents, that cut into my profits, but it was good. So,
awesome.
So that was my start. But, you know, when I was 20 years old, I did 2 months of pest control. So I've been in that world, mastered it. I'm just joking. But honestly, it taught me a skill. I'm super grateful for pest control, because it taught me that I can go door to door and produce, any time in my life. And so I did it for 2 months, and then I didn't get back into door to door until I was 28. And so there was an 8-year span there when I finally got back into it. But it is so nice having that in your back pocket, knowing that if there's ever a time when things just hit the fan, I can get back into the door-to-door and produce and create value really, really quickly.
So let's talk about that. You're on track. You graduated in business management, correct?
Yeah.
And you wanted to go into finance, right? And you had this clear-cut path of what you wanted to do. And then where did it kind of come to a crossroads where you're like, door-to-door sales?
Yeah. So things change. I mean, it's always good to have a plan, but you got to be flexible, right? And so I remember there was 1 month where I graduated college, I got married, I bought my first house, and I was about to start my first job. It was a really cool month of my life. 2 days before I was supposed to start at Wachovia Financial and be a financial advisor, I got a call from HR, and they're like, "Hey, your dad's actually the manager. There's a nepotism issue, so you can either move to Reno or you just can't work here." And I was just like, I just bought a house. And so it's funny how quickly my plans changed, with one phone call. And so I remember I was supposed to start on Wednesday. It was a Monday morning. I literally got off the phone. I didn't tell my wife, because we'd been married for I think close enough where she was still in her 3-day right of rescission. She probably So I literally got off the phone. I went and put on a suit. I'd never made a resume before, because I was always going to be a financial advisor at my dad's firm. So I literally sat down. I put on a suit first, sat down and wrote out my resume, printed off 100 copies, drove to Fort Union on 7200 South. I had no idea what was at Fort Union. Got out of my car and I just started going into businesses, giving my resume and just saying, "Hey, my name is Kevin Trost. I just graduated. If there's something, what do you guys do?" "Okay, cool. I don't know who to talk to, but I'm looking for a job." And then the next morning I woke up, put on my suit, printed off 100 more resumes, drove to a different business park, and every day I did that for 2.5 weeks until I was so full of interviews that I couldn't go pass out resumes anymore. I interviewed at over 100 places in the next 2 weeks. I mean, it was literally 5 interviews a day. And somehow I started selling furniture at this furniture company, and that's kind of how I got back on track. So things change is the moral of that little story. But so when I'm 28, 27, I have the opportunity to either get a second job with what I was doing to kind of live the lifestyle I wanted to live, or I could invest all of my money into a Ponzi scheme. Obviously at the time I didn't realize it was a Ponzi scheme, but I looked at that as the better option. And so, so lost $103,000, which was all of the money that I'd saved my whole life, grow up, pest control, all that stuff. I was super frugal always. And so lost $100,000. But it's funny, I was like, well, I know one way I can make this up real quick. That's door-to-door sales. And so I remember I called Shannon Thatcher. It was the start of April, right before his team was going out to Dallas in 2008. And I said, "Shannon, take me to dinner." That was Shannon and I had been friends for 5 years. So he was always trying to recruit me, right? And he's like, "Don't say it if you don't mean it, Trost." And I'm like, "Take me to dinner." And he's like, okay, let's go to dinner. So we went to Texas Roadhouse. And I remember the thing that got me, I interviewed with Pinnacle and with Apex. And Pinnacle, their pitch was, dude, go to LA. We're going to get you season tickets to the Dodgers. Like, you don't have to work Saturdays. Like, we know you'll do well. Like, have a relaxing, cool summer and make some money. Remember, Cheyenne sat me down and he goes, Trost is going to be really hard because we played lacrosse together. Like, you were like a year, you were my captain and stuff, but I'm the manager. I'm not going to treat you any differently than anyone else. You have to follow our office rules. You have to knock every hour or I can't let you come on our team. And to me, it was the easiest decision I've ever made to, I'm not doing this to like go to Dodgers games. I'm doing this to change my life, I need to make up $103,000. It was the best sales pitch that anybody's ever given me. Is he expected a lot out of me, and that's what I needed to hear in that recruiting meeting.
In that summer, did you make it back?
Yeah, so I sold 249 accounts. No idea how many I funded. So first year in just the summer months, I sold 249. I do remember I was 804 points negative. Don't think I really took that as seriously. So just a $24,000 deduction there. But I made up at least a big majority of that and was able. But then I realized, oh wait, I actually love this. I love door to door. I had 2 kids at the time, and so that's when I started Armor Alarm. Just because with kids, I didn't feel like I could leave every summer. But turned out a couple years later, my wife's like, I actually like that part of the job, moving out, and so we decided to go back to Vivint. Now it was Vivint, and that was kind of like my journey from into the door-to-door world.
Cool. So now, being where you're at, looking back 10 years, would you have imagined yourself 10 years down the road still in door-to-door? Back when you're like, oh, I need to make up $100,000, so I better make it up real quick in the summer. And 10 years later, it's like you're still doing it.
That's a good question. I mean, so I don't care how old you are, if somebody tells you in 10 years you're going to be knocking doors, you're probably going to tell them, no, I'm not. That probably goes for anyone listening to this. But if somebody 10 years ago was like, hey, there's a job where you can make this much money, you can work with your friends, you can have a flexible schedule, and it's going to be the closest thing to a sporting team environment that you can find, and it's going to be hard work, but fun work and all that stuff, I would say, I don't care what that job is, I'll do it. Unless it's like roofing. For some reason, roofing would be just the worst, but it's so hot. But and then they're like, yeah, you just got to knock on doors and recruit people. And I'd be like, oh, that's easy compared to the payoff, So but I don't think anyone gets into door-to-door sales thinking that they're going to be knocking doors 10 years later, So
that's interesting. So you went on to Vivint. That year in 2012, you had the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 rookie in the entire company. I remember that was my first year at Vivint, so we went up against you guys quite a bit. And you had the number 1 pro average in the company. We were number 2, so I was like, oh, but you were blew us out of the water. And there's got to be something said to how do you have a successful team of first year rookies? What do you do as a manager running that?
Yeah, probably the quick answer to that is the quality of the reps you're recruiting. I like to think that they were the best because of the things that Brock, Gravitt, and I were doing to mold them. The truth of it is they were super, super talented reps as it is, right? But my situation was a little different. The year I go back to, I remember I was talking, Todd Peterson and I were talking and talking about me coming back, and I was just like, I'm not interested in just coming back and just working here, but there's a guy named Brock Gravitt that I think is the best person at this job of anybody that I've met. He's just an amazing manager. I was like, if I can work with Brock, then I would come back, but I don't know why Brock would want to work with me. He's already ran successful teams and stuff. And when Brock heard that, he was like, oh, no, yeah, I do want to work with, you know what I mean? And so that's what I think got me back to Vivint, what was getting the opportunity to work with Brock. And I still think he's one of the best in the world at what he does. But I really think that the thing that probably set the tone for our office was the number 1 rookie the year before on Brock's side. So Brock already had a successful office, and it's kind of nice being able to recruit guys to a team that's already functioning and running well and some heavy hitters and stuff. But I remember there was a day that our number 1 rookie from the year before went to correlation, but then didn't get in the car to go out to area. He just didn't go to work that day. I don't know why. We found out about him. Brock's like, dude, I got to fire him, man. I'm like, okay, but this is our number 1 rep. I remember I pushed back on it a little bit, and Brock was like, no, that's not okay. If guys think that that's even an option, then this office is going to fall apart. And so we literally called, like, it was that fast. We called this rep, and he's still a friend. Like, I cared a lot about him, so this was hard, but we called him, and we literally like, dude, you got to go home tomorrow. And we went to the meeting the next, and it was hard, dude, but we went to the meeting the next day, and we're like, guys, this rep didn't work yesterday. We sent him home. This is the #1 rookie from the year before. He had recruits. I mean, it was a hard thing to do, but it set a completely different tone to our office. And, you know, something in that office was just different where, dude, we couldn't get guys to come to correlation because they were already out on the doors. Like, I mean, I remember there was this one day where I ran the correlation, so I showed up. There was nobody there, except for my car group, and they were all mad that they were there because they wanted to be knocking. Everybody was already on the doors, dude. It was just like, it completely shifted the culture of that office. And then, I mean, Jason Olson, Jeremy Arthur, Kenny Jones, Billy Kinsey, and Cam Gray, anyone would have the top 5 reps if they had. So, I mean, a lot of it was just, we recruited, you know, we for whatever reason, they were attracted to us, and we were attracted to them, and it worked out good, so.
Cool. Okay, we gotta pause. So, awesome first year of event, killed it. Then you went on for another 4 years total, managed over 7,200 accounts that you left with Brock.
Yeah, I think the year that I finally left, I think the final number was 7,200 accounts. Between Brock and I, it's hard to know exactly.
That's a lot. That's a lot of long accounts.
Yeah. Brock's really good at what he does, dude. I mean, he's since grown that. I mean, addition by subtraction, maybe I left and he's still growing. So it's probably been better for him too. But.
So then you made a transition into satellite. You know, a lot of people are always like, oh, the transition usually goes from alarms to solar, or, you know what I mean? And everybody's like, well, crap, why'd you go to satellite? That's like a D grade in a lot of people's eyes.
That's what everyone told me.
Yeah, so what went through your mind when you made this shift to a totally different industry, totally different sell, and you took on the role as president, right?
It started as vice president, and about a year ago, we got named the president. So
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you did something, right?
Something. Yeah.
So the year before, you better make me. I like the title, President Trump. He's president.
It's all about titles.
Look a lot like it. Yeah. So you went from VP to president, and when you got there, the year before that, they'd done about 18,000 satellite accounts.
Yeah.
They were the #1 DirecTV dealer at the time, right?
Yeah, and their channel #1. I think it was 5 years in a row at that time. They were #1.
So they were always doing really well. It's not like the small little rinky-dink, but you took on this role. And tell me about, one, what made you decide to like totally shift it up, and then 2, let's talk about the journey of like how it's been so far.
Yeah. So I think my situation is a little unique. Like, when I left my alarm company to go to Vivint, there was nothing wrong with my alarm company. Like, I left it to Jesse Christensen. He kept it going and did a great job. And I just, honestly, I missed the culture that Vivint had. Like, I tried to recreate it for 4 years. I couldn't do it. I mean, it was a hard thing to recreate. And so, I didn't leave that situation because there was anything wrong. It's just, I yearned for something more or something, you know, and Vivint offered that. So when I was looking at, I got a call from Paul Southam, who's the owner at Clear, and honestly, in my head, at first it was like a downgrade too, because that's how I recruited satellite guys to Vivint, you know. But you know, I respected Paul a lot. I've known Paul for a lot of years, and he's one of the few. Paul Southam and Curtis Taylor actually are the 2 guys in the door-to-door world that have never tried to like financially benefit from me. Like, they've just tried to help me. They've always been there for me. They've never tried to make $1 off me, which means a lot. And so the only reason I talked to him is because I knew he had never tried to make money off me. I really respected him. And but yeah, looking into it, you know, AT&T had just purchased DirecTV. I mean, there's something exciting about that. A lot of successful people in the door-to-door world made their start in satellite, and so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a real look. But when I really looked at it, what got me excited about the opportunity is number one, AT&T confirmed with me that they wanted to make a push on the door-to-door side. Number 2, even though Clear had been the biggest for 5 years, there wasn't that much distance between them and the next best or the next group of companies. And so that got me excited that, man, we're already good. We already have systems and processes in place. If I can find a way to distance ourselves, that's exciting. And then the other thing is just, I felt, and if I'm being honest, it was just getting harder and harder to grow in the alarm space. Like like my first year guys, when I was recruiting them and telling them, about becoming a regional and what they'd have to do to get there, when I was looking at TV, I felt like actually retaining reps and growing, it was going to be an easier road for guys to be able to do that in the satellite world. And so, so those were my probably main reasons for going over, if I'm being honest. But again, there was not, I felt like I was in a good spot and I was working with my best friend and all these things were going really, really good at Vivint. So it wasn't any one, there wasn't like a reason I left. It was just Vivint opened up this opportunity for me, and this opportunity was what, that next morning I got really excited about this opportunity, and so I just went with it.
And so you took them from 18,000 to the next year. So that first year you were there, you guys did 35,000?
35,002, so yeah.
Almost double. And then, did you throw in those last two just to pad it?
I like to think I did. I like
35,002.
Every account matters.
Mom, satellite, gotta get it. It's the time.
Mom, time to get it again. Yeah.
So. Just sign up for a second account.
Yeah.
So then this last year, you guys did how many?
Yeah, so I got there. They had just done 18,000 accounts, which is amazing in this channel. And so I remember I came in, and when I finally told them, cool, I'm going to make the change and come over, I said, I just want it to be really clear, the only reason I'm doing this is because in 3 years, I believe that we will do 100,000 accounts in 1 year. And I remember our head technician, Derek Simmons in the room, he's like, whoa, Trost, this is a different world, man. This isn't alarms, this is
we're the biggest at 18,000.
We did 25,000 1 year, that's the most that's ever been done. And I remember, and I was like, okay, well, cool. So at first it was just like, there's no way. I'm like, well, let's just do this. This year our goal is 30,000 accounts. Because I was in my mind, I was like, get there, then double, we'll be at 100,000. And so, I just started talking about 30,000, and eventually everyone started talking about. And it's funny, the time I call our owner, AT&T gives us the official numbers, and I was like, hey, will you let us know? It was 2 days after Thanksgiving. I was like, you got to let me know when we hit 30,000 accounts. I want to make a big deal about this. And he called me back. He's like, I have bad news, man. And I was like, what's that? He goes, we hit 30,000 accounts last week. And I was like, oh, it's so awesome but we immediately, I switched, we got to do 35. We have a month left, we can do 35, and when we hit 35,002 accounts, that was like awesome, And then remember we were sitting in a meeting like that same week, like, cool, AT&T wants to know our projections for next year. And I was like, we can do 70. I know we can do 70. And Paul was like, I am not calling AT&T and telling them 70,000 accounts. He's like, I'll tell them 50. And I don't even nobody's ever done 50. I'll tell them 50. And I was just like, and then Jeremy Arthur, who I get to work with over there, and I were talking right before a leadership meeting a couple weeks later. And I was just like, 50,000 accounts is not even getting me excited. I can't get behind this. And we're about to talk to our leadership about this. And I remember AT&T was there, Paul and Casey, the owners, were there, and I said to Jeremy, I'm like, hey, dude, let's do 70,000 accounts. And he's like, I love it. And I was like, cool. I literally walked up to start the meeting, and I'm like, hey guys, I get everyone excited. I'm like, the first presenter is Jeremy Arthur. He's going to let us know, where we've been, where we are, where we're going. And he walks up, he goes, do you want to know the goal for 2017? He's like, 70,000 accounts. And everyone starts getting excited. And I remember Paul looked at me, he's like, we talked about this, AT&T's looking at us like 70,000 cats. They're kind of rolling their eyes like, oh, come on. So that was in January, and we're literally on pace.
That's crazy.
Yeah, honestly, the only thing that frustrates me about it is why did I tell myself it was going to take 3 years? You know what I mean? We really do limit ourselves all the time, and so. I haven't gotten my head what I want the goal, what my personal goal is going to be for that next year. But I feel like if we don't do at least 150,000 accounts, I'm going to be moping around the office or something. I need to get excited about something.
But that's cool. There's something to say. That is the largest satellite or TV dealer that you're now in charge of. That's got to be a lot of weight on your shoulders. But what an accomplishment.
And I definitely don't feel like I'm in charge of anything. If you go to Clear, just everybody plays such a huge role in it. Like I'm glad that I get to be a part of what's going on there. But man, there's something just so fun about growth and fun about growing and things. And it's, you know, people walk in the building and they're like, man, dude, it feels good in here. Like everyone like loves their job. And you know, I've worked for companies that I didn't feel that as much, and so it's a fun thing to be a part of.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So tell me
you know
about,
that you grow all the time, like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I feel you, man. There's energy there. That's one thing I love about you is just your energy, and like like when Kevin Trost walks in the room, it's like either he like runs in or he doesn't have a shirt on. Like one of the two things.
Yeah, I'm feeling claustrophobic right now.
I was like, are we gonna see Kevin's shirt in the fall? The real Kevin Trost?
No, you know, I lost a little weight and now I'm a little.
Now it's time to show it off.
No, I'm a little self-conscious
Oh,
now.
shoot.
When I was bigger, it was easier. So.
Yeah, no, you look great by the way. So let's go into a little bit more like what do you seek to keep yourself sharp, future like education, things like that. Are you a book reader or are you like how do you continue to learn?
Yeah, so admittingly, I am not a book reader at all. Like I honestly, every podcast I listen to, every successful person tells you if you don't read books, you're not going to make it in the world. But I don't find the time to read. I just don't. Some things that I do, I think meditation is huge. Like I really do. Every day I get on a treadmill or an elliptical and I go for 8 miles, and that's like my time to think and to like process and that's just the time for me. And honestly, like if I have a meeting at 6, I'll wake up at 4:30 to make sure I get that. Like I can't go without doing that. So for me, that's huge. And then I try to learn as much as I can from like interacting with other people. I feel like I have very few original ideas on recruiting, on sales, on anything. Most of what I'm good at has come from other people. So one specific thing I do is every day I call 3 people that I haven't talked to in over a month, like every single day. And sometimes it's like a weird opening to a conversation. I mean, sometimes I haven't talked to for years. You know? Yeah. And they always think I'm about to recruit them or something. And I'm like, no, I just want to know how it's going. And it's crazy how much I can learn from those conversations. But it's also like people's successes motivate me. Like if I hear that I have a buddy and I had no idea they were doing good and he's doing amazing, it's funny how like much harder I worked that day. You know? And so we gain strength from each other for sure. That's why I love like this, you know, door-to-door con and all this kind of stuff. Is like, man, we can get some strength from each other. We really can. And I really don't feel like my ideas are like my ideas. Like, I mean, there's a guy, Trevor Frank, probably has no idea how many little nuggets I picked up from him, or Jordan, or these guys that like, I might not have like this weird personal relationship with them, but like, I've learned so much. You, before I met you, like you have no idea how much you pushed me. Newbie. Yeah. Like I love Newbie now. I didn't know Newbie in 2008. Newbie will never know how hard he pushed me that summer just from looking on Insider, picking out some weird guy's name in LA. He was in LA that time. Dude, he paced my whole summer. He has no idea, you know? And so I try to learn from other people. I do like podcasts and stuff, but those phone calls to me are like my favorite part of the day. Cool. And that's, I'm not a reader though.
So what's your why? Like, why do you want to do 150,000 and grow clear and make like whatever you make? You know what I mean? Like, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed?
What gets me excited is I love people that are like doing things that other people are good at, but then there's people that are like, I love distance. I mean, that's like a weird kick I'm on right now. Like Tiger Woods, like the fact that he's so much better than the best golfers in the world. I love like seeing that distance, you know, like. And you know, there's a guy in our company named Jake Shreve that, I mean, he sold like well over 600 accounts last year. Like our company's really good, but how is he that much better as far as like number of sales than everybody else? I love that distance. So for me, it's like the fun thing is how much distance can I put between myself and like the next best or the people that I'm like competing with. And I don't know, for whatever reason, like gets me going. And then I really do like first year success, like first year sales guy success. I get more excited about that than anything else. You give me a veteran rep that sells 10 in a day, or give me like a rookie who's never done more than 1, then they do 3, right? They didn't stop at 2. They like, their goal was 2, they hit 2, and then they found a way to get that 3rd sale. That like, for whatever reason, that like gives me fuel, man. Like, like, how did you do that third? Like, what pushed you to do third? You just got your personal best. Like, what you got you to the third sale? And they're like, I don't know, I just knew I could do it, and like you feel that excitement. And so I really do, like, I get energy from other people's success. It took me a long time to like not just focus on my own success, but it's a real thing.
Cool. So let's go into the impact you made when you say, all right, I'm coming to Clear, we're gonna take over the world. And you put a couple like strict guidelines, like these are the 2 principles that I'm gonna focus on at Clear to make it to go to 100,000 accounts. Let's talk about those 2 principles. So what were the 2 things that you're like, I'm gonna focus on this and I'm gonna focus on this?
Yeah, so like specific changes that we made. The first one is we developed, instead of like sales trainings, things like that, we developed what's called the Elite Academy, where it's just, it's a leadership development program instead of just, here's how you overcome specific concerns you're going to get in the satellite sale or things like that, or here's how you do a correlation. It's more leadership principles, like our leadership, like events and things like that. They're all based around like becoming better leaders instead of just that. So I think that our leadership program, and they can advance through it, is a really big thing. The other thing was the biggest deficiency I saw in the satellite world, not just at Clear, was that retention was just so bad. Like every year these companies were working so hard to re-recruit the sales that they lost. And I looked at it and I was just like, man, if we could just focus on retaining these reps and giving them a reason to stay here more than a year, then if we work just as hard, we're actually going to grow instead of just replace. And so we focused on retention and getting guys to focus on the opportunity of what Clear has to offer down the road instead of the responsibility of the summer. I think was like the biggest thing, right? And that's made the biggest change. I mean, it's a mental thing, but.
So you focus more so on, this is a career, not a summer, just 3-month job and then go find another
job. It's not about how much money can I make in a couple of months. It's about how can this job change my life down the road. And whether that's at Clear or somewhere else, if we're developing leaders and they're developing skills, and then if there's opportunities at Clear because we're growing, like that offers a lot more than a 3-4 month summer stint or a blitz or whatever that is.
So what kind of things, when you're interviewing a rep and you're trying to say, I'm going to sell you on this long-term vision of a door-to-door career, like what kind of things would you say to that rep? Like as far as one-liners, I guess you could say, like, how do you talk about that?
Yeah, well, first off, like, I mean, recruiting is like a funny animal, right? Like I feel like there's a million books and training videos and training meetings on how to sell an account, how to overcome an object. But then everyone just would always tell me, oh, cool, and then recruit. That's the most important thing of your job. You're a manager now, you got to recruit. And they would tell me recruit, and they'd be like, write a list of 100 people you know, and they'd recruit them. But like, they would never actually like teach me how to recruit, right? And so, again, I learned a lot from, Shyam Thatcher and Dave Allred and these guys. Brock Gravitt's an amazing recruiter. So I learned a lot from them, but like, I was, there's a difference between recruiting someone to your company and recruiting, like telling somebody about your company and making them want to be there, right? So I think the first big thing is just when I recruit people, I focus on them. I don't focus on me. I don't tell them why I'm so good, or, how's that going to make you money that I'm good at what I do, right? And so I'm in so many recruiting meetings where people are just talking about their office and their culture and what they're good at and their schedule. And by then I'm meeting, I'm like, I don't know anything about this kid. I don't know why he might want to work here, he might not. I don't know though, because I haven't heard him talk yet. And so much of it is find out what are they looking to get out of this job, right? What are they looking to get out of this? If they're going to sacrifice, being a lifeguard this summer, whatever they would normally do to come do summer sales or come knock doors, what is it that they want? And then is Clear a good fit for that, right? Or is Vivint, or wherever you're at, is this opportunity conducive to what they're actually looking for? Does it line up with their goals? And so most of my recruiting, honestly, there's not really one-liners because everyone's different.
So just
right?
asking them the questions of like,
find out what they want, whether they want to be in 3 years, and and then their answer is going to be different every time. But then if I'm not a good enough recruiter or salesman or whatever to like take where they want to be And if Clear's not the right place for them, I'll tell them. But if it is, then I can form that to what they want to do. It's a lot more effective, and it actually hits home to this rep. You know, if I tell this rep about how in 3 years they could be doing this, but their goal in 3 years is to not be doing this, then that's not a very effective recruiting meeting, right?
Yeah.
So
what about retaining a rep? Like, I'm sure you still have reps that are like, all right, I'm out, I'm done with this door-to-door gig, or I'm going to go sell for some other company. What are some of the best practices to kind of maintain that relationship or keep them around?
Yeah, I think the first thing with that is I really don't believe that like Clear right now, or working with Kevin Trost is the best thing for every single person long term. I really don't. Like there are some guys that it is by far their best option, but I have to realize, like, and we all have to realize as recruiters or leaders or whatever, that like I'm not everyone's best option, and I really do believe that. And if I believe that, then I can have an honest conversation with that rep, right? Like, dude, I've lost reps before. I like to think I'm good at retaining reps, but I've lost a lot of reps. But there are some times when I actually think their opportunity is better for what they're going to do. And if I really believe that, I'm not being a very good leader if I'm trying to talk them into staying because that's what's best for me, if that's not what's best for them. But coming from there, a lot of times it is the best. I do think it's their best. I mean, them just going to work for another company for $5 more on a pay scale, I don't think that that's a better opportunity all the time, you know? And so, but if we can have an honest conversation, then we can have an honest conversation.
So there's some power in being authentic, really.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's one thing that you probably do better than most. It's just how real you are and how upfront and honest and just like, hey, I'm here to serve you, not like to try to swindle you. And I think most of your people that work for you probably feel this immense love that they get from your trust, right? Give me a big bear hug, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's just because it's like, hey, like, and that's the biggest pitfall in recruiters is when they become money hungry, where they feel, hey, this is all about how can I make money on you, and that's all I care about you. See you later. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the fact that you make 3 phone calls a day to random people just cause. And that says something about who you are, and that's probably what makes you a great recruiter.
Well, and I honestly do it. Half the people I wouldn't want to come work for me anyway, right? It's just staying connected with people. But I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than when somebody comes to my office and tells me that they just left their company and they hate how they were treated on the way out, or they felt like they just wanted to make money off me. Yeah. There's no easier way to recruit somebody than coming from that. So
cool. We were talking earlier, and you were telling me you have 10 commandments of recruiting. Let's go through those. Like,
I actually wrote them down.
Oh,
so
perfect. So you got them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are, again, instead of me just being like, yeah, just recruit, guys, just recruit. Why aren't you a good recruiter? Go recruit your buddies. Go get 60 guys.
The problem with the leader is they tell people to recruit, they want to grow, but they don't teach and guide people how to do that, how to recruit. Like most managers, like, where do I start? Like,
every manager. Me too, right? Everyone. And so these are like 10 specific things that I feel like if you do, you're going to be a better recruiter, right? Cool. And so the first one, and maybe the most important one, you have to be 100% committed to what you're recruiting somebody to. Like if you're waffling at all, if you're not 100% on board with your opportunity, how are you going to talk somebody into that opportunity?
Well, right? and it's probably more common than people realize.
Common.
And it's probably a good sign. Like if you're trying to get one of your future managers, your top reps to recruit, it's a key indicator if they're not willing to recruit that they're probably not 100% committed. Like right there is when you're like, what's going on? Like, how do we sell you on this vision? How do we make sure that you are
exactly? If I have a guy who's afraid to recruit, it's because it's usually he's not confident in his opportunity.
Yep.
I mean that's 100%. The truth. So, second thing is you need to be fully engaged. Like when I'm in a recruiting meeting, like, and I'm not perfect at this, I don't think anyone is, but dude, if my cell phone's out, if I'm not interested in the person I'm recruiting, do you think they're going to be interested in working for my company? Probably not, And so turn off your cell phone, take notes. Like take notes of this bird. Tyler Mickelson said in a training once, like 10 years ago, I don't even remember what it is. It's like, I take notes and I write their name at the top of the paper because it's crazy how many times I forget their name and I can at least look down and find their name. But it told me is he probably recruits a lot if he's forgetting people's names. But number 2, it's like, dude, if you take notes, you actually show that person you're interested in what they have to say, right?
Sometimes it takes a second, third, fourth visit with them, and you can go back to that and be like, oh, remember he was telling me about his grandpa and like his biggest why is his grandpa, so I can touch on that. Like I can really help serve him to save money to that. You know what I mean? Like it's so many times where it's like really that extra piece will show that rep you listened. Where the last guy he met with, he's meeting with 4 different companies, and he's like, and he goes, well, this guy stands out because he actually like remembered like what I care about.
Well, and the word you use, listen, is like the most important thing. So if I'm taking notes on a rep and I haven't written anything down, I probably haven't asked that rep enough questions, you know? Yeah. If he hasn't given me anything to write down, then I don't know anything about this guy. So it kind of keeps me in line. But yeah, you got to listen to him. Like you have to actually listen to them, not think about the next best thing to say in this recruiting appointment. Listen to the guy. Like listen to him. I promise it'll get you further than thinking about the next, like, perfect one-liner that you're going to use next, you know. So the third one is never talk negatively. Never. It doesn't matter if you're against their old company, it does not matter. People will remember how they felt meeting with you. They probably won't remember everything you said. But if you're talking about negative about anything, it doesn't feel good. And so I love it when I'm in a recruiting battle and they are talking bad on me, and I'll talk good on them. Every time. Who are you want to be with? A guy who like makes you feel negative in a meeting, or a guy that even if he's talking about his competitor, I still feel good, right? So do not talk negative. Number 4, you got to control your environment, right? There's nothing worse than a recruiting meeting where there's like 8 people in there and like one guy's like not committed to it, or one guy like wants to go do pest control or something else, and he's like everything you're saying he's like being the naysayer. You got to control your environment. If you bring the person that like is helping recruit that or you're trying to help recruit that person, like control when they talk, right? Don't go to Tucanos, don't go to Benihana's, like don't go somewhere where like the waiter's going to interrupt you the whole time. Like if you can get into your building, into your environment and culture, they can feel it. So control where you do the recruiting meeting.
And you know, it's the hardest, Top Golf.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's the worst. And it's like, yeah, let's do some recruiting at Top Golf. And then you're like, every 3 seconds you're like, oh, pause on our conversation that we were just starting to get deep into.
Well, and there's nothing worse than nobody's golfing. Yeah. You're talking to them, and you can tell they just want to be golfing.
Yeah, it's like, why? Can I go hit? It's like, yeah, go hit. Or shoot, the timer's up. We've hit like 1 round.
Yeah. Top Golf is amazing for a lot of reasons,
it's
not for recruiting.
For that simple reason.
Yes. Number 5, and this might be the most important one. Do not recruit just using a pay scale. Like I'm not even joking. I don't even have a pay scale. We have them. Our guys are going to see them, but like if a guy's coming to clear because of a pay scale, he's not going to be at clear very long, right? They really won't. I love recruiting against somebody who's just recruiting with a pay scale, because I've never met one successful rep. You could do 1,000 of these podcasts. Nobody, when you ask the question, so what do you think was like the main factor of your success? Is anyone going to be like, dude, this pay scale I got on my first year was so much better than what the other companies were asking? Like, it's not about a pay scale. It's just not. And the guys who make it about a pay scale, they never stay somewhere very long. And if I'm recruiting a guy and all he cares about is the pay scale, I know he's not going to be here long term, because someone will always offer $5 more. Always.
Sure.
Someone will always offer $5 more. And you know what? You're not going to be successful work with me because of my pay scale. Right? Now, the pay scale has to be there. It has to be competitive. It has to be like good, and you have to be able to make money. But that's not what determines our success. I've never heard one successful rep talk about he was successful because of his pay scale.
Yeah.
Right? So that's number 5. Number 6, knowing is half the battle. You have to know about I know we keep going back to that, but if you don't know anything about the rep, you are not going to recruit that rep unless you get lucky, unless you're touching on the things that happen to be his hot buttons.
I think the biggest pitfall most sales reps fall into is when they sell a customer a product, they all need to know this much about the customer to make them make a decision right now. With a recruit, it's like, I'm creating a relationship that I hope to have for the next 3 to 5 years. And they treat it like a customer, like, hey, I can just get the bare minimum to get and convince him and make a decision right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, that guy's getting home to his wife, and he's going to go home and talk to some other dudes, and there's no 3-day right of rescission with recruiting. It's like, gotcha, made it past 4 days. It's
sorry,
like,
man, you're stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck.
Yeah.
Can't go anywhere else.
I don't even have to care anymore. You're here.
You're here. Gotcha. Sign. So that's the common pitfall I think most sales reps run into, is they're like, recruiting is selling, but it's a different sell, like completely relationship based.
But it is the same with sales, right? Your sales should be about the customer, not about you.
Yep.
Same with recruiting. Recruiting should be about this recruit, not about you, not about. Now, you got to touch on those things, and we'll probably get to that in a minute. But anyways, Number 7 is talk about their twin. This is like my favorite one. So, especially if I'm 37, like, yeah, I'm super good looking. Yeah, whatever. I don't relate to everybody, right? So if I'm sitting down with like a 21-year-old kid, like he's looking at me and he's thinking,
how do I relate?
Yeah, how do I relate? And I'm thinking, how do I relate? So if I tell him stories about what I do, he's not relating, right? So I have great examples of almost anyone in any situation. I have an example of, oh, you're 21 and you are going to school and you want to be a doctor. Well, cool. Let me tell you about Jeremy Arthur, because when he was 21, his plan was going to go here too. Let me tell you what he did in this world to get him further along on his path, right? That goes so much further than me telling you like about what this 37-year-old father of 4 would do.
And sometimes it's hard to relate. It's like, well, you were the number one guy, or you were it's like, not everyone's the number one guy, and a lot of people try to recruit off of like, well, just do what I did. And it's like, no, I took a first-year guy who's much more like you. He was 27, just married, nervous because he was just getting done with college and wanted to find his career and didn't want to do door-to-door, just like you. And then,
and this is why this opportunity made so much sense for him. Yeah. This is why he's glad he did this. Yeah. Oh, okay, you can relate to that a little bit. Yeah, so that's a lot more relatable than anything else. Okay. Number 8, put yourselves in there. One of my favorite lines in recruiting is, so if let's say you're, Sam Taggart, like, so tell me really quick, how many kids do you have? 2. Where do you live? Lehigh. Cool. And how much money, what is your why? Tell me any why. It doesn't have to be your actual why.
So I can be financially free and have all the time to spend with my kids.
Cool. So my favorite line, because a lot of people in recruiting meetings don't know what to ask either, right? So my favorite line is, so if I was Sam Taggart and I had 2 kids and I wanted to have financial freedom, the main things I would want to know are this. And then I would tell them what they want to know, and I know how I'm going to answer those questions.
Oh, that's really
right?
Cool.
And so a lot of times guys in recruiting, they have no idea what they're even like talking about. So I put myself in their shoes and I say, dude, if I'm you in this situation, and I make sure they know I've been listening to them.
This is what you want.
And this is what you want.
This is what I want.
These are what the answers I want to know, like what industry, whatever that is, and then I go attack those things. So it's telling them what they didn't know they wanted to hear.
Yeah. That's some good structure though.
So I like that one a lot. Do we need to stop?
No. Let's finish it out. We got another minute.
Number 9 is, I call it the so what's next, right? So I've been in so many recruiting meetings like, cool, so you want to do this? Like, does this sound good? You have to recruit them to something. Right? There has to be the next step. So whether it's a preseason trip, whether it's getting them on the doors, whether it's there's a training Tuesday, we want you to come to that, whether it's getting them, there has to be recruiting them to something, right? So you can't just like leave it as like, well, cool, if this sounds good, awesome, man. Well, we'll kind of keep you in the loop. And let you know what's going on. You got to recruit them, commit them to the next step. I mean, it's pretty basic. And then number 10 is just, what is your, I call it the title of liberty, but it's what is your like holy cause as like an office? Why do they want to be a part of your company, about your group? You have to know what makes you special, right? If I'm a manager of an office, what makes our office any different than the 30 other offices that they could choose, the 100 other offices? This is what we're going to accomplish this year. You can be a part of that. And then maybe even throw it on them. Trevor Funk does a good job of asking people, what would you contribute to our goals? Why do you need to be a part of this team, right? So you need to know what your holy cause is, or what the why of your office is.
Cool. No, I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay. You told me about this concept of there are 3 questions and three or whatever. Expound on that. Like, what does that mean in recruiting?
Yeah. So I basically like. Every recruiting meeting needs to have some kind of a structure to it, right? And so I call it my 3 lists of 3. Any recruit looking at doing any kind of sales, they should be asking themselves 3 questions. And then a lot of times I have to remind them that that's what they should be asking themselves. But it's, what industry would I sacrifice my time to work for? What company inside that industry? And then what team inside that company? I mean, there's teams in every company that are successful and not. I mean, those are all 3 big decisions. And so basically I have my rep, but like my manager's like, right, if they don't know 3 positive things about each of those things, then write it down and make sure you're prepared. But, I tell them, 3 things about their specific industry that, that rep should know, right? That helps them make the decision to go into that industry. Like in satellite, it would be, AT&T is an amazing partner to have. TV's not going away, though that's what everyone keeps telling me. People are already paying for it. There's whatever that is, there's 3 reasons why this is the right industry for you. The second thing is what company inside that industry. So I don't think everyone's necessarily lucky enough to have work for Clear in my instance, where we can say top company 6 years in a row. The culture here is second to none. Whatever those 3 things are, but have 3 specific things that make your company the right fit in that industry for this rep. And then the third thing, and I think the most important, is what office inside of that company, inside of that industry, would I want to go with? And then this is your chance to really brag about yourself, right? Nobody likes to talk about themselves, but we all like to talk about ourselves. So this is the chance to tell them the 3 things that make your office different. So usually one of those things would be what are we going to accomplish this year? What's our holy cause? We're going to win this competition, or we're going to be the #1 office, or we're going to have the highest rookie per rep average, whatever it is. So you get them excited about that. You probably tell them something that your team did last year that makes you guys unique. And then maybe the third thing is something where they're specific, what they're looking for fits perfectly with your office, right? So, but anyways, there's so many times I'm in recruiting meetings where guys will just kind of talk about themselves and their office and why it's so awesome and why they make so much money, but there's never these specific points.
Yeah, there's no flow, there's no structure.
Exactly.
They outline their sales flow, but then they don't outline their recruiting meeting flow.
Yeah.
Where it's just as important.
Yeah, so every sale is going to be different. Every single sale you do, you can write it out 1,000,000 times. It's going to be different because that house is different. Same with recruiting meetings, but if you have a basic structure of what you want to do, and then you have specific things in that structure that you're going to hit on, it'll give your recruiting meeting direction, and then you'll be prepared for it. And so now, recruiting a dude who's married with 3 kids is going to go very different than a 19-year-old kid looking to make some money for the summer. But the principle behind it, the structure behind it, would stay the same.
We're going to go into the lightning round.
Oh, yeah. Excited for the lightning round.
Yeah, I'm actually tempted to take some of this knowledge and put it into Door-to-Door in some way, and hopefully you can participate in it.
Yeah, I love this. It's good.
Yeah, you're one of the best recruiters out there, so it's pretty cool to see the growth that you guys have had. So going to the lightning round, the first question is, what makes a successful salesman?
What makes a successful salesman is focusing on the opportunity instead of the responsibility. So it's all knowing why you're doing what you're doing.
Cool. Book that changed your life?
Extreme Ownership is the last book that really made a huge impact, I think.
Good old Jocko.
Yeah, Jocko is the man. Jocko is who we all want to. Jocko is who we think we all are, right? We think we're that guy.
As long as my wife doesn't meet him, I'm okay. It's oh man.
No, I remember Dave Allred called me. He's like, man, this book, dude, our whole company is and so when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, this is a game changer.
Cool. So, craziest thing that's happened to you on the doors?
Yes, I think it's just crazy what we do. That's what I love about this job. Every door is going to be different, and that's I need that in my life. So craziest thing for me though is my first year in Dallas. There was a competition. I was knocking. It was 10:30 at night. It was pretty late. I remember I knocked on this door, and this guy opens the door, and honestly, at least 6'5", this black guy, just ripped and just the most intimidating person that's ever answered the door. And it's 10:30 at night, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And so nervously, I talked for 4 or 5 minutes without letting him say a word, because I was so afraid of what he was about to say, or that it would just be a fist or something. And then finally, I paused long enough for him to I was so nervous, and he's and he was just standing there, like this,
the thug.
Oh man, it's so scary. And he's like, I think this sounds great. Why don't you come on in? And I'm like, oh, that is not what I was expecting. And he turns around and he has this little ponytail, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is not what I was expecting at all. And he walks downstairs, and he has a lot more swagger in his step at this point. And we walk downstairs, and him and his 5 buddies are in this little homemade recording studio. And I have my stepbrother's actually homosexual, so I can talk about this. So it's sick. All of them are just like singing and rapping about the most gay stuff I've ever heard in my life. It's the most uncomfortable situation normally, but I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
What's crazy is my first year, I had a 6'5" black guy in Dallas, Texas, who trained with Chuck Norris, and and he's like, "Come on in," and I'm like, "Okay," this little 18-year-old kid, and he walks me, he's like, "Want to see my toys?" And I was like, "Okay." Takes me to his back closet, and he's like, and I'm cornered in the walk-in closet, and he's showing me his dolls, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he is about to rape me. I need to get out of here. He invites me to Joe's Crab Shack, and I was like, I don't think my manager would be okay with me going to dinner.
You gotta go to Joe's with that guy.
I was like, I'm out of here, but super similar. That's awesome.
Dude, you should have gone to Joe's this morning.
I should have gone to Joe's. And then he was a sub-credit, so I was like, I don't even know. This isn't worth my time. $75 now.
My guy was so excellent. He was such an excellent guy.
That's awesome. We sold him. High five. So what skill should every salesman have?
I honestly I don't know if it's a skill. It's like a routine. If you don't have a routine and it's not broken down and everything is thought out, you're doing yourself a disfavor. So have a routine. Listen to the Jordan Williams podcast if you want to know how to come up with a routine. Honestly, he's the best at it. Yeah.
College degree?
Yeah, business management.
One word that describes success.
Honestly, friendship.
What does it take to be top in the industry?
You'll never get to the top of the industry without bringing everyone you're working with you. I honestly I get to work with what I consider to be the best people in the world at what they do. The fact that we just merged with Now, and I get to work with John Shields and Dave Force, I'm so excited to work with these guys. I really am. These guys were my competitors. Now I get to work with them. I will become better because of them. And hopefully they become better because of me a little bit too, And so you have to bring everyone with you, and you will all become better.
Cool. Apple or Android?
Apple.
If you weren't a salesman, what would you do?
I'd like to think I'd do something that helps people. I feel like I'm a salesman, but I feel like I get to help people a lot, and that's my favorite part of the job. So I don't know. If money didn't matter, I would love to be a teacher.
Cool. Best advice ever given to you?
Best advice ever given me with my dad before. There's 2. My dad before my mission said, there's 3 pieces of advice. Do not complain about things you can't control. The second is do not fall in the snare of mediocrity. It's so easy to be mediocre. Do not fall in that snare. And the third thing is, if you are going to finish something, finish strong. And then the other best advice I ever got was my mission president. I don't know that he came up with this, but he always said, he's like, never make small plans for, small plans do not have small plans have never been able to stir the hearts of men, or something like that. And nobody wants to be a part of something normal or mediocre or average. Everybody wants to be a part of something great. It's easier to be great than it is to be average. I honestly believe that.
Cool. What time do you go to bed and what time do you wake up?
I go to bed when my kids get out of my bed, finally, whenever that is. And then, honestly, my goal is to wake up before my alarm clock. Whenever I set my alarm clock, if I wake up before that, that means I'm excited to get out of bed. And I consider that a huge win. And I get mad when I wake up because of my alarm clock, because that night I wasn't ready to go. So I wake up pretty early, but I like to wake up before my alarm clock because I didn't get forced to get out. I chose to get out of bed.
Cool. I like that. Well, man, I appreciate it, Kevin. This has been way fun. Your energy's always super high. This has been very insightful from a recruiting standpoint, where I think that's where most people struggle, is they might be a great sales rep but never know how to really grow their business. So I think this will be super helpful, and excited to see you in January.
For sure. Well, I've learned from the past. So